Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. This is Saturday, May 11th, Major League Baseball. You can see on the screen there, recap of Thursday. Friday games haven't happened yet. We'll recap. I think I've built in the code so that we can recap Friday and Saturday picks on the Monday show, and then we can do Sunday and Tuesday. I think we'll be able to get all the recaps in here going forward. So here's Thursdays, but Fridays, you will have to wait, of course, until Monday, as there are no shows for Sunday games. So this will be our last show for this week. All the picks available on Dub Club, including the play of the day, a winner yesterday, and the honorable mentions, which were positive, slightly down overall on the A grades, but overall here this week, a 10% ROI, obviously a small sample size, but a good start to a slight tweak in how we are designating grades overall for the model, just how the overall health of the model is doing. I mentioned it before, the full game totals were really struggling early on, but been coming around pretty strong lately. Again, here on another strong showing on Thursday. But really, it's kind of more of the same that we've had all year, really, which is that the overall full game model has been very hit or miss, and we're having to kind of pick our spots. And that's where the A grades are the best of the B grades. First five, anything that we've done really has kind of worked. And so our first five picks, we're having a lot of faith in and enjoying those. For the most part, they aren't all winners, unfortunately, but overall, they are doing very well. And again, all the first five picks over on Dub Club, extra picks on Dub Club, updates when their starting pitcher changes. A couple games here for Saturday that might have starting pitcher changes. The Discord chat group where we have a lot of fun, help each other out, a lot of good information, a lot of good people over there in that Discord chat. That's exclusively through Dub Club. We can give you a 10-day free trial to start you out with the link in the show description or that QR code there that is on the screen. Some quick reminders before we get to the games. Pickswiththeprofessor.com/new. Get you all the information about the model and the community rules. Weather is subject to change. We'll talk about where it changing could matter as those games, if applicable. We are projecting an average game. I do not know what will happen in one game. Nobody does. And so that's why we talk about, on average, what we think will happen. And that's why we compare our probability to the book's probability. Everything in sports betting, whether it's from the books or from the professionals, is always viewed in terms of probability. And so we want to do the same thing. What does that mean? It means that 55% winners will lose 9 out of 10 times, but we're going to win more in the 11 wins than we will lose in the 9 losses. And that's how we make money. That's what leads us to the line. Anything is a good bet at the right price or right number. Any team, any situation, no matter how bad they're playing. Now the question is, will that right price or number appear? Maybe, maybe not. And again, what I provide from the model is what the model thinks is the right price or number. We can obviously adjust from there and say that it actually probably needs to be a little bit higher or lower based off your own personal preferences, because as always, we want to take what you like and leave the rest. If the price that is listed on screen, if you're not even comfortable with that and you say, I would need another 10 cents higher, 15 cents higher, 25 cents higher, that's fine. The idea is we are thinking about things about what is the price needed to play. And if you can't come up with the price to play any single bet, you're not thinking hard enough, because, I bet $1 and I win every property in the entire world. I'd bet about anything on that one, right? Now, obviously, that's never going to happen. But the idea being, if the payout's good enough, we should be interested in betting it. And that's what's going to lead us to take some dogs. And that's what's going to lead us to take some favorites, to say, hey, it's not the biggest payout, but it's actually still more than what we should be getting. As we compare those probabilities, that's what the guiding principle of the show is. We'll talk about that for every single game and give you one A-grade pick that I really like in the show. You'll have to stay tuned for what that is. But as always, if you could like the show, we would like that. So please hit that like button if you can. Otherwise, we'll get to it here with the Twins and the Blue Jays. The only pitcher who makes me run out of room on that line of starting pitcher, Simeon Woods Richardson, a guy I've been touting ever since he's come up this year, last year as well, but I think he's pretty solid, pretty underrated, a very good pitcher. Like what I've seen from him, 174 ERA in his 4 starts, a FIP of 186. It is not a fluke. His xFIP's a little bit higher, and he projects to be a little bit worse because obviously I don't think he's going to be quite that good. But so far, so good. A guy who's probably treated like he's just some random kid, but he's actually a very solid pitcher. And again, the thing that helps with the Twins is they have such a good bullpen, so much bullpen depth. They're like the Guardians in that regard of their pitchers don't have to do that much because they've got so many arms behind them. That helps make the pitcher even better. Kevin Gausman on the other side has had a bit of a rocky start, but is kind of solidly lined up where he should be at this point. 7 starts, 3.78 ERA, FIP and xFIP both in the 360s. He projects in the upper 370s. Everything kind of is lining up now where he's very good maybe not quite the best pitcher in the American League right now. Sutherland has him 10th overall for active starting pitchers, but still a very good pitcher for the Blue Jays. The Twins, of course, have the edge in the bullpen. The Blue Jays have it on offense, but folks, it's small. The model thinks the Blue Jays offense is a little bit better than the Twins. They haven't performed that way this season so far. A couple of notes. First off, that's an overall rating. Against righties, the Blue Jays rating drops to 104, which makes the gap even smaller. And on top of that, we're still saying the Blue Jays offense will probably be okay because we don't want to overreact to a month and a half's worth of data when you look at how predictive this data is versus last year's data on these players. The answer is still overwhelmingly last year's data. Even 2 years ago, full season data is more predictive than 6 weeks of data this season. Blending it all together, though, you cannot deny that things are going the wrong direction for the Blue Jays offense. It's trending down for them. And so the model still says there's a slight Blue Jays edge on offense. It's not much, if anything. And if you turned the lever up of overreacting to this season, which so far, what we've seen from these two teams wouldn't be the craziest thing. You might actually lean on the other side of the city. The Twins offense is a little bit better. Bottom line, though, the model is using for the first several many innings of this, especially, given, how good the Twins bullpen is, the fact that Simeon Woods Richardson is a right-hander, using that right-hander rating offense for the Blue Jays, the gap is even smaller than what appears to be on screen. So offensively, it's rounding error, according to the model. Jays have the offense to start. But the Twins starting pitcher shouldn't be overlooked. Weather-wise, we'll probably have the roof closed as it's a chilly day in Toronto, and that leads us to the following projections. So we have the Blue Jays winning this 57% of the time. The market is 59%. I never loved fading Gausman. He's a really good pitcher, but we've been backing Simeon Woods Richardson, and I like finding a way to back him if possible. I'd love to go under 7.5. These offenses still have enough promise. The model says that the projected total, or that the total should be around 7.5. So I don't really think the under makes a lot of sense. The Twins might be worth a look. The issue is the model thinks it should be plus 131. You can get plus 141, which is good, but we want plus 151 for the B grade value. So we're still 10 cents away from where we would say good Twins value. Unfortunately, I don't think the first 5 market's going to be much in play here with regards to the side, simply because of the fact that the Twins' edge comes in the bullpen. So the price lift is really skyrocket. But again, what those first 5 edges need to be, et cetera, is all available on Dub Club. Cubs and the Pirates, 4:05 p.m. Eastern. First pitch, mid-50s for this one. Wind, little out, little in, little across. Going to just assume it's going to play a little bit pitcher-friendly based off the cooler temperatures. But again, a weather update always available on Dub Club. Justin Steele has looked great in his 2 starts. Good last year. Very good pitcher. Not really much to say. He hasn't done that much this year because of the injury. But so far, so good. And what seems to be establishing a very good career for a good young lefty for the Cubs. Paul Skeens for the Pirates making his debut. Of note with him, and if you followed what he's done in the minor leagues, this should not surprise you. The model does not project him to go very deep. It's actually maybe the worst inning projections that the model has right now. They haven't let him go very deep in the minors. They stretched him out one time. He was cruising in his last start. I was actually at that game before they pulled him, not wanting to get too many pitches. But I really think they're going to treat him with kid gloves in the majors as well. I don't really think they're going to let him throw 110 pitches. His grade is a 118 simply because of that. How deep he's going to go. Projection is so bad. Part of the projection is how good you are and how long you can go. Why is that? Because the longer you go into the game, it helps with the bullpens. You have one less arm that has to go. Usually that's the weakest arm that drops off. So depth of how much you can pitch, how deep you can go, matters to the model. What I will point out with Skeens is his per inning metrics project already pretty average across the league, which is pretty dang impressive for a guy who was in college last year to come up and have that. Again, overall grade going to look worse, but his per inning metrics are just fine. It's just we don't project him to go that deep. The Pirates bullpen can be a little bit of a mixed bag. I'm assuming he will do fine. I'm also going to be surprised if he goes more than 5 innings. I'd kind of be surprised if he makes it 5 innings, just with the way that they're going to be treating him with kid gloves with all the injuries. Both these offenses grade out below average. We would appear to have a little bit of an edge on the over. I'm not running to play the over with a park that's going to play slightly pitcher friendly with the cooler temperatures and 2 pitchers that seem fine. Kind of the reason to play the over, in my opinion, on this has to do with the bullpens. We've played some of these overs with the Cubs here lately in situations that were more pitcher friendly, in situations where the offenses aren't that good. And the line of thinking there was really the Cubs bullpen just isn't that good. Steele will be fine. It'll matter how deep he goes, but if he's not going overly deep, if he's only going 5 innings, for instance, I don't know how you're going to get 12 more good outs from the Cubs bullpen, maybe only 9, of course, in that regard, since they're the visiting team. I don't think Skeens is going to go very deep. The number of relievers you have to pitch, like one of them's going to give up a run or two, that sort of thing. So I'd kind of be eyeing the over here, but I'd be eyeing the full game more than the first 5. I do expect it to be a low, kind of a more chill start. You might get a run or two here or there, but really I think there's more runs because something's going to go wrong with these bullpens somewhere. It's still not an over that I'm loving, though, just because, these offenses I can't really trust. It'll be a chilly day. That said, again, 7 is a little bit low. Push protection on the over 7 can matter. I would not be going over 7.5. But over 7 might be worth a look. It's not one of my favorite plays, but it is probably the smartest angle on the game. The market gives the Cubs a little bit better chance to win than the model is more than the market. So if I'm looking at a side, I'm looking at the Cubs, as the model says it should be priced at -117. You can get it -112, not quite to that B grade threshold. Skeens is really good. I'm sure he'll have success. Justin Steele's also a really good pitcher and established as well. So I don't think we want to overlook that with the prospect hype. As good as Skeens looks, it's Cubs or pass, over or pass. Neither one is something that I'm, again, running to do as of right now. Diamondbacks and the Orioles, 4:05 p.m. Eastern, first pitch, around 60 degrees for the totality of this game. Slight breeze across 5 to 10 miles an hour. Going to play pretty pitcher-friendly, a park that's played pitcher-friendly ever since they moved in the fences in left field. And a 60-degree in Baltimore is cooler than average. Ryan Nelson and John Means looked phenomenal his first start. Based off what he did last year, the model wasn't overly high on him. But after that last start, 7 shutout innings, or at least no earned runs, FIP of 0.88. So it wasn't like it was a rush. Now it's only 7 innings, but I mean, a FIP below 1, xFIP in the mid-2s, like that was a really good start to reestablishing the fact that he was one of the stronger pitchers, more underrated pitchers a few years ago before all the injuries started hitting him. Ryan Nelson, 5.23 ERA, not as bad as that, but also not good. xFIP mid-4s, FIP mid-4s as well, projects a little bit worse than that based off of previous seasons. Not a guy I have a lot of confidence in, one of the weaker starting pitchers in baseball. So the Orioles will have an edge at starting pitching. They're going to have an edge in offense according to the model. And on top of that, of course, not just based off the projections, but their current form, you have to like what you've seen from the Orioles more than the Diamondbacks. The Orioles relievers are better. The Orioles are home. Everything points towards the Orioles. They are big favorites. They should be favorites. Unfortunately for us, the model and the market both have them winning this 61% of the time. Total's pretty spot on. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like the full game market's going to offer us anything here. Maybe the first 5 market will in the morning. It did on Friday. We'll see if that pays out, but we did have a nice little first 5 play on this game here for Friday night. Maybe we'll have the same thing on Saturday. Find out on Dub Club. Braves and the Mets, 4:10 p.m. Eastern, first pitch, low 50s. Slight wind blowing out, slight wind blowing across. Going to be hard to tell exactly what it is, but it'll stay under 2 miles an hour. It's probably not going to matter. What'll matter more with regards to the total is a couple of things. Number 1, very pitcher-friendly ballpark. Number 2, Max Fried, very good pitcher. A little bit heightened on the ERA. Really, if you take that first start away, his ERA is really low. And in his first start, should have been completely different because strike 3 was right in the middle of the plate. I will remember that probably until the day I die at this point. If nothing else, just to say, it's his. I said from then his ERA should go down, and it's continued to go down, and it will as he gets better data in from that one start. xFIP in the low 3s. I mean, Max Fried's still a very good pitcher. Is he going to win the Cy Young? Not likely necessarily, but he's still a very, very good pitcher. Christian Scott looked great in his first start against a struggling Rays offense. It'll be a whole lot different against the Braves, but his minor league numbers were good. In his first start, his FIP was in the low 2s. He projects to be pretty solid as a rookie, which again is a big compliment. A lot of rookies come up and they grade out in the 120s, but Christian Scott's a guy who's shown the depth that Skeens hasn't, and I think that's probably more so because of how the team's treated him. Not that Skeens can't do it, but he's shown depth. He's getting deep into games. He's older, right, which helps as opposed to some of these prospects come up at 22, right? Scott's like 25, so he's ready to be a solid major league pitcher. That's what he projects to be. The Braves should have an edge facing him, of course. The Braves should be favored. They have a great bullpen. The Mets bullpen, not bad either. Not expecting a ton of runs here, but again, another situation with regard to the side that we're pretty in line with the market. I lean slightly more Braves than the market does, but not by enough to overcome the juice. I like Christian Scott, but it's hard to go against Max Fried. I still believe in him. We still have a better Braves offense, better Braves relievers. It's kind of Braves or pass. Right now at -153, it's not something I'm jumping to do. Again, we're still 15 cents away from the model giving it its stamp of approval of that B grade. But again, as much as I like Christian Scott, it's hard to fade the Braves with how good pitching they have. They're going to lose some games, obviously. They have lost some games this year, but I mean, they're 22-12 for a reason. They are a really good baseball team, and price around -150. Like I said, it's that or pass. As always, though, shop around. If you're looking at Braves -160, that's a lot harder to stomach than -150. If you can save a nickel or a dime, make sure you have multiple sports books in your betting portfolio. If you don't have an account there yet, BetUS is a great one to add to that in order to, again, always find the best price. Shopping around at multiple books, BetUS is generously giving you a 125% bonus on your first ever 3 deposits. So if you're not there yet, check them out, see how you like them, take advantage of that free money that they're giving you to start with. They are going to require you to roll it over. That's how a lot of the free money in the offshores work. But again, we're giving you enough picks, and there's enough games in baseball where you should be able to do that in no time. They don't just give you money for free. They want you to play a little bit, but play a little bit, stick around there. Again, by shopping around, you'll find some days where you'll make more picks there, less picks there, whatever. The rollover requirement will be done. You'll be getting some free money, which everyone loves. And again, when they're going to have some of the better prices in the market, you'll want to be able to play their BetUS. Check them out if you haven't yet already.
BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer. A 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.
Phillies and the Mets, also at 4:10 p.m. Eastern. Looks like Taijuan Walker and Jesus Luzardo. No line on this one as of yet, as Luzardo is coming off of the IL, so it's not officially confirmed, but also on point to Luzardo coming back here. He's been very shaky so far this season. 6.58 ERA, and it's not like that's a mirage. His FIP's 5.09. His xFIP's a lot better. I think he's better than this. I think maybe the Cy Young hype was a little bit too much, but I still think he's a very good pitcher. Taijuan Walker, I'm not sold on. I know he looked really good in his last start. I think part of that was the fact that this Giants offense that he faced that night can just really disappear at times. It is so hit or miss. You never know what you're going to get from them. Underlying metrics for him, mid-5 FIP, upper 4 xFIP. I just don't think he's that good. I think the Phillies are making a mistake by having him there instead of Spencer Turnbull. Using Turnbull for mop-up duty, I think, is just borderline criminal with how good Turnbull's been. I know they potentially want to, are worried about his innings. I just don't see why this isn't Spencer Turnbull instead of Taijuan Walker. I'm just a big fan of Taijuan Walker. I think he's a great depth guy to have for if there's injuries, but I think he's their 6th best starting pitcher. So, here we are where I think the Marlins are going to have a starting pitching edge. I'm guessing the model's going to tell us that we like the Marlins here. Their offense isn't that good. The model knows that. The model still believes in their bullpen. I've been talking about that a lot, but the Phillies bullpen grades out better. Phillies offense is very solid. We're on the Marlins here almost assuredly. Obviously, the price point matters, but anything plus odds on the Marlins would be a smart pick. And it's mainly, again, the fact that we're trusting that Luzardo's not as bad as those numbers, and Taijuan Walker, maybe not as bad as his 6.39 ERA, but is not a very good pitcher. If you're concerned about the bullpens, if you don't believe in the Marlins bullpen quite like the model does, maybe a first 5 play is a look, but it's Marlins or pass almost assuredly, because I'd be shocked if we aren't getting plus odds on them. And as much as this Phillies team has been pretty good this season, and this Marlins team has been not pretty good this season, to say the least. And again, when you look at the records, they are literally night and day. The only weak spot on this Phillies team, in my opinion, is Taijuan Walker. All 4 of their other starters are incredible. Their bullpen, top 10, great bullpen. Their offense, very solid. And this Marlins team isn't very good, but the time to fade the Phillies, I think, is going to be Taijuan Walker. So that's what I'm saying here. Is this is one of the 1 out of every 5 games that I would say don't run to back the Phillies, if nothing else. Yankees and the Rays, 4:10 p.m. Eastern. Nestor Cortez and Zach Littell. Littell's been fantastic. Another guy they just kind of like no one knows anything about, random reliever, and they're like, yeah, you're going to come start and be good for us. They'd seem to do it all the time. Unfortunately for them, that's the only thing the Rays have going for them. The offense is going the wrong direction. Littell's been really good this season. Grade's going in the right direction. But again, the bullpen hasn't been and is bottom 10 in baseball. Offensively, again, going the wrong direction. But of note, and I said this last week, I think it was for about a week ago, when the Rays face a lefty, that's the one time when you have a little bit more faith in their offense. Okay, Nestor Cortez being a lefty, the Rays are really, really right-handed heavy right now. Yankees, on the other hand, though, a really good team, have done great so far this season. Cortez has been very respectable, 3.72 ERA, FIP better than that, xFIP slightly higher, but I mean, he's been pretty solid. You have no complaints if you're a Yankees fan about what you've gotten from Cortez. The market has this as Yankees winning 53% of the time. We've got this as a coin toss. That Littell is not drastically different than Cortez. And I would agree with that. I think both these pitchers are very solid. You have to like what you've seen from both starting pitchers. Bullpen-wise, edge goes to the Yankees, but they're on the road. Offensively, edge goes to the Yankees. But again, the first however many innings facing a lefty, you have to like that from the Rays. This is one of the few chances where they're going to actually be kind of set up for some success on offense, whereas right now they're really right-handed heavy and struggling, and their grade is below average against a righty. So this is the one time where maybe you trust the Rays a little bit. Maybe it's more of a first five look. That way you don't have to worry about the fact that the Yankees bullpen is better. The Rays bullpen has been terrible this season. So again, we'll see the first five market in the morning, not even out yet. And that might be a first five play on the Rays. Right now, the full game, we're still 5 cents away from the B grade. And I don't trust this Rays bullpen enough that if I had to, and I was looking at the same sort of value, I'd definitely be playing first five over full game. Nats and the Red Sox are our last game in this 4 o'clock Eastern time slot. Around 50 degrees for this one. Want to be blowing in. Pitcher-friendly weather, hitter-friendly park. How's that going to play out? Again, Fenway, Coors are the two fields where the weather being chilly or wind blowing in can definitely suppress runs, but there's still some innings. You're still going to get some wonky innings sometimes, so it can be a high variance total. So just word of caution anytime you're playing a total here in a cold weather Fenway game. Not really overly confident in anything total-wise happening on a day like this. Jake Irvin and Cooper Criswell. Irvin's been really good this year. I think I talked about this a week ago when he pitched last. I did not expect anything from him. He's been pretty terrible his whole career. Did not project well coming into the season. So far this year has been outstanding for the Nats. Some of these pitchers for the Nats have led them to a place of much more mediocrity. 18-18 as of this recording when they aren't projected to be that good. Williams, another one, of course, and Jake Irvin, 3.72 ERA, FIP about a half run better than that. xFIP right in line with it. It's not a mirage. He's pitching really well. Now, will he continue to do that? The model's kind of adjusting him a little bit better each time, a little bit better, but we're not going to throw out previous year's data. But I mean, so far, you have to really like what you've seen from him. He's looking really good. I read about Trevor Williams so recently, some of his changes he made this offseason. I don't know about Jaker. Maybe he's made some pitch changes as well. Maybe this is real. I'm not ready to fade him at this point of the season where I was before, because so far he's been really good. Cooper Criswell made 4 starts for the Red Sox. Very similar story. Looked really good so far. Underlying metrics, pretty solid. Not quite as good as that 1.74 ERA, but I'm not really breaking news with that one. I mean, both pitchers, again, looking great so far this season. The model does not like this Nats offense. I've been talking about that all season. That's really their big problem. The relievers now are graded out in the top half of baseball, which is quite a shock, again, given how bad their relievers were last year. 2 solid sets of relievers, 2 pitchers with upside, 2 offenses I don't trust. But wonky weather, I'm not really sure the total market's going to offer us anything. But we'd be on the Red Sox here. Model has us at 62%. Market is at 58%. We are right at the B grade threshold. I'm just not running to fade Jake Irvin and laying odds with how good he's pitched. It's Red Sox or pass. Sometimes you see a pitcher like this who's pitching really well, and you just say pass. Or what you say sometimes is, you know, you're playing a minus 140 here or 145 here. That's exactly what the B grade threshold is according to the model. Maybe you look at it and you say, we don't need it to be 145. Maybe I need 135 or 140 or something like that. You'll hold out for a little bit of a better price. Hard to say exactly what to do here, but it's Red Sox or pass, and I just don't love fading Jake Irvin. How good the Nats bullpen's been this season, at least relative to expectations. But you do love backing Cooper Criswell. You love fading the Nats offense. So Red Sox or pass. Stay tuned tomorrow on Dog Club for an official decision. Not my favorite play for sure, but something to at least consider here for Saturday. Astros and Tigers, 6:10 p.m. Eastern, the return of Christian Javier for the Astros, who's had great results so far this season. FIP has been solid. xFIP's been higher. He was concerning at best last year. I think he'll probably be better than that grade, but you have to be a little bit concerned about that xFIP so far. That's a concerning underlying metric for him. If he starts giving up a few more home runs, things could go south for him. Detroit typically plays slightly pitcher friendly, close to average, as opposed to years past where it was really pitcher friendly. It's going to be a little bit of a tale of two types of things weather-wise. About 50 degrees from the weather, so the ball's not going to fly there, but a wind blowing out at least to start at almost 20 miles an hour, so the ball might fly a little bit better based off of that. So a lot of different kind of confounding factors there. But for the Tigers, Tarik Skubal has just been so dang good. According to Sideline, the second best active pitcher, only behind Zach Wheeler. 190 ERA, 209 FIP in his 7 starts, xFIP in the mid-twos. If he continues to pitch like this, his grade's going to get even better. Like, he's actually been so much better than his projections. There's just a lot happening here with these pitchers where you have to think both of them have some potential upside. But Skubal, is just so good. It's hard to fade him. The model still believes in this Astros bullpen, doesn't really believe in the Tigers bullpen. So any chance the Astros have winning, almost assuredly going to be in the late innings. The idea for Javier is just to keep them in there. Right now we're in lockstep with the market. We have it at 55% to the Tigers. They have it at 55% for the Tigers. And we might be on a slight lean to the over, but with these two starting pitchers, I'm not racing to do that. The model thinks maybe a little bit more likely on the over based off the weather, but since we're over 24 hours away from first pitch, definitely would check back before I played any over, and I'd really be looking at going over 7 if I were to play the over rather than over 7.5, just knowing the push protection, the fact that this game could land something like 4-3 or 5-2. Guardians and the White Sox, 7:10 p.m. Eastern, first pitch, mid-50s for this one, wind blowing across. Going to play slightly pitcher-friendly for Tristan McKenzie and Mike Clevenger. McKenzie's maybe going in the right direction, at least based off the ERA. Last year he was good, but his underlying metrics are still a concern despite some better starts here lately. Still for the season, a FIP and an xFIP in the low 5. So still concerned about Tristan McKenzie. Mike Clevenger, not a guy I have a lot of faith in, got lit up in his return here to the big leagues after a late start to the season for him. Underlying metrics are terrible. It's only 2 innings, but a guy who also doesn't project well. Guardians offense should be able to do some damage off Clevenger. If they don't, they should be able to do some damage off of their relievers. This is a tale of two types of teams with regards to the relievers. The market's got the Guardians winning 60% of the time. We've got it at 63%. It's Guardians or pass, either on the run line, the -1, or in a money line parlay. A couple different ways you can play that. Make an official decision on how we want to play the Guardians in the morning on Dub Club. Cardinals and the Brewers, around 60 degrees to start, closing in more the low 50s, so projecting a closed roof in Milwaukee. Kyle Gibson and Freddie Peralta for this one. Gibson's outperformed his underlying metrics, 368 ERA, but the FIP and xFIP kind of paint him more at a league average or slightly worse pitcher. Freddie Peralta has been very good. 349 ERA, xFIP, and FIP align right with that. One of the stronger pitchers in baseball, definitely an ace. So Brewers definitely going to have the edge there. The Brewers are such an interesting story. They graded on about average on offense and reliever. When Yelich was playing early on in the season, their offense was way better than the model expected, and their offensive rating got a nice little boost. Then he went out, and the bullpen started doing really well, and the bullpen graded out really well. And then the bullpen started to struggle. The offense started to struggle. Now Yelich is back. The bullpen still is at least okay. There's just a lot of things happening with this Brewers team. The only thing going for the Cardinals right now is their bullpen. If they fall behind like they did on Thursday night, it won't really matter because you can't fall down 4 or 5 runs that early and have the bullpen save you. At this point, it's hard to back the Cardinals. Their offense doesn't look good. And like I said, the only thing they've got going for them consistently is the bullpen. We got the Brewers winning the 60% of the time. Unfortunately, the market does as well. I would say Brewers are past, not from a model standpoint, but from this Cardinals team looks lost, and I don't want to fade Freddie Peralta against Kyle Gibson. The payout would have to be fantastic, and it's not that good for the Cardinals. That said, we think this should be -148, and you're having to pay -155 in the Brewers. So the price isn't incredible. If I could at least get -150, you can shop around. Maybe that's worth it. I like the Brewers here. I don't really like the price. And, of course, another fun situation where we are literally in lockstep with the market with regards to the total. Reds and the Giants, 7:15 Eastern, first pitch of note, a night game for those of us on the East Coast, a normal start time for those of you on the West Coast, except for the fact that it's the Giants. So this will be a 4 p.m. in the afternoon start. Ball might carry a little bit differently in the day there. Slight breeze blowing out, but in that park, the wind just swirls and does weird things, so you never really know. Still should play slightly pitcher-friendly, help out Nick Lodolo and Mason Black. Black was one who projected okay coming up to be at least closer than this to league average, but got shellacked in his first start, and so model is not taking a liking to him. Nick Lodolo, maybe the only Reds pitcher who has consistently looked good, and you like the underlying metrics. You thought he was good coming in, and he's living up to it. He's at least doing his own part to try to help this Reds team having a great season. Underlying metrics align with it. Cannot say enough good things about Lodolo and what he's doing for the Reds. Unfortunately, no one else is doing anything for the Reds. Their bullpen doesn't look good. Their offenses look good. The Giants, their offense also can disappear. A lot of question marks all over the place here. If anybody's going to have success against, or if Mason Black is going to have any success anywhere, it might be against this Reds offense in this park, but I don't really love backing Black. Lodolo should have some success against this Giants offense. I might be looking at the under on this one just because I don't trust either one of these offenses to do anything. Mason Black's the only scary part of that. You have to hope that if he struggles, the Giants have a lot of good relievers they can go to. I want to watch Friday's game and see how the reliever usage is, make sure all the relievers are available, and they don't do anything crazy where there's guys unavailable. But with regards to the side, we're pretty aligned with the market. The market says the Reds should be slight favorites. We would agree with that in technicality, but have it pretty close to a 50-50 game. No real edge on the side. Maybe the first five market offers us something, or maybe it's an underplay. Those are kind of the different angles I'd be thinking about for this one. Rangers and the Rockies. Upper 50s to start, mid-low 50s to close. Wind will be blowing out at 10 to 20 miles an hour. So we're going to have a chillier night in Coors still in May, but the wind blowing out is going to make this play like a normal game at Coors Field. That wind's going to kind of offset the temperature, and that the ball's still going to fly kind of like a normal game there. So whenever we do have the projected total up into the double digits, we've had a lot of these Rockies totals projected more around, in the mid nines or so. Andrew Heaney versus Ryan Feltner. I have very little faith in Andrew Heaney doing anything great. I think at this point we can kind of say he's a below average pitcher. He's consistently below average, which I guess is better than all over the place, depending on what you're looking for. But we know what we're going to get, which is going to be not great. Probably not going to get completely lit up, but again, not a good pitcher. Ryan Feltner on the other side, he does have a 5.54 ERA. ERA is a little bit inflated because of course FIP and XFIP both in the upper threes. So, I mean, there's at least a little bit of upside. You can kind of squint hard enough at Ryan Feltner and say, maybe he'll actually be the better pitcher in this one. Maybe. And there's that whole Coors Field effect where he's pitching more of his games there. So maybe the Rockies have an edge here at starting pitching. Model doesn't really care for either one of these bullpens. Offensively, obviously, it's all Rangers. They're favored. They should be favored. But we don't think they should be favored by this much at all. The market's got them winning 59% of the time. We've got only 54%. Your A-grade free show pick here for Saturday. Rockies plus 141. It is 7 cents better than the B-grade threshold that the model gives of plus 134. So really plus 135. Plus 140. Those are some great numbers out there to take advantage of the Rockies. Not saying they win, but anything can happen in Coors. Those are some decent plus odds. When you might have the better starting pitching, the bullpen might be a wash. Weird things happen there. Plus 141, A-grade play on the Rockies in a game where the total is sitting in the 10.5 range, and the model says it should be in the 10 to 10.5 range. Dodgers and Padres, 8:40 p.m. Eastern. First pitch around 60 degrees for this game. Slight breeze blowing in. Going to play pretty pitcher-friendly for James Paxton and Matt Waldron. And boy, will they need the help. First off, they're going up against two pretty good offenses. They will also need the help because they aren't very good. James Paxton does have a 3.06 ERA. Here's your daily reminder that ERA is not the best metric. I mention it because people use it, because people look at it, but attributing runs all to a pitcher or all to a fielder is kind of silly when you really think about it. And the underlying metrics paint a very scary picture for him. If he continues to pitch the way he's pitched, his ERA is going to be up in the fours in no time, and maybe even the fives, despite playing in a slightly pitcher-friendly ballpark in Los Angeles. FIP mid-fives, XFIP in the low sixes. The model is very concerned about him, but isn't any higher on Matt Waldron, who's struggled this year. Underlying metrics are a little bit better than his ERA, more in the mid-fours. But, I mean, this is two questionable pitchers to good offense to questionable bullpens. The Dodgers bullpen's been very good, but again, losing Evan Phillips really hurts them. They also have someone else, if I remember correctly, on the IL as well. This is the current picture of who's healthy for that bullpen. So the Dodgers, bullpen, probably top 10, fully healthy right now. A little bit of a concern there. A pitcher-friendly ballpark, but you have to expect some runs. There's a reason this total is 8.5, but you don't typically see an 8.5 at Petco Park very often. Unfortunately for us, that's exactly what we think as well. So no edge on the total. With regards to the side, really the reason the model is higher on the Padres than the market is the fact that everyone knows Matt Waldron is bad, but his underlying metrics this year being better than James Paxton maybe indicates that the gap between these two starting pitchers is not that much. We've still got Paxton as about a full standard deviation better than Waldron. The market's treating Paxton as if he's a good pitcher, and at this point, I have no faith in that whatsoever. This is another game that I'm going to comment on. I think this is a very confusing situation to me. If you think Paxton is actually good, then I can see you giving the Dodgers a 57% chance to win. But if he's good, this total should not be 8.5. It should be something like 8, maybe even 7.5. If you, like I, think that Paxton isn't very good, I totally understand a projected total of 8.5, but then it's hard to get to 57% on the Dodgers. So this is kind of puzzling to me. Either you believe in James Paxton more than I do, and if you do, then you should be betting under 8.5. If you don't believe in James Paxton, then it looks like there's some value on the Padres. One of those two almost has to be true. I don't know which one. Take how you feel about Paxton. I don't think he's very good. Given what the model thinks about him, it would say edge Padres, and the plus 129 price almost gets to that B grade threshold of plus 132. So we are knocking on the door of a B grade pick on the Padres. Royals and the Angels, about 60 degrees for this one. Slight breeze blowing out. Going to still play a little bit pitcher friendly as it's still a chilly night, but not very much. Going to play pretty close to average. Cole Ragans and Tyler Anderson. Ragans has been very good this year. 3.38 ERA, FIP in the low 2s, xFIP in the low 3s. Grade going in the right direction. Everything's lining up for him, and we just continue to say good things about him. Again, was skeptical from the very start of just saying let's not get ahead of ourselves. At this point, having another 42 innings worth of data, I think it's time to get ahead of ourselves. Again, the model's going to react to how he's done. He's done great, very good pitcher. We never want to overreact to a small sample size, but at this point, I think we're to the point where, I've been saying it for weeks now, Cole Ragans is a really good pitcher, and we really should be buying in, and that's what the model has done. Tyler Anderson, on the other hand, well, he does have that 2.74 ERA, FIP and xFIP in the upper 4s. Paint this as all Royals with regards to the starting pitcher, all Royals with regards to the bullpens. Up the Royals bullpen is incredible. It's fairly average at this point, but the Angels bullpen is terrible. Offensively, I don't trust either one of these offenses. Unfortunately, the market doesn't either, with a total of 8, which is kind of incredible. If we had anything happening with these offenses and these bullpens and Tyler Anderson involved, we'd be at least a 4-1 higher. But these offenses are keeping that total down in the market, which I think is the correct move. We've got the Royals winning this 58% of the time. The market's at 56% of the time. 100% for me, this is Royals or pass. And I'm liking the full game play more than the first 5 because I want the Angels bullpen involved because I don't trust it one bit. Maybe the first 5 edge is bigger. We'll see in the morning. Right now, the edge isn't huge on the Royals, but given the fact that I'm not going to say skeptical. I'm going to say we've been not trying to overreact to Cole Ragans, and the market has been. If there's any edge on the Royals with Ragans, I think it's worth firing away on. So I'd be Royals or pass minus 133. Not quite good enough to be a play I love right now, but definitely the way I'd be looking. And then wrapping us up 9:40 p.m. Eastern, A's and the Mariners, mid-60s for this game, wind blowing a little bit out, a little bit in, hard to say, but going to be a little bit more hitter-friendly than usual because, again, a slightly warmer than average night in Seattle. Still going to be very pitcher-friendly, just not quite as much as before. We fired away on so many first 5 and full game unders in Seattle early in the season. This might not be the greatest weather spot for that. Going to need a better number to do it on this one. Alex Wood and Bryce Miller. The reason there is no line on this game as of now is that Alex Wood has not been confirmed. Bryce Miller in his 7 starts has performed well. xFIP's very solid. FIP's a little bit higher, but if he continues to pitch like this, his grade will be on the right side of average soon enough. Alex Wood, I have no faith in. And I think he actually had a pretty good start last time out. And so his grade's gotten better than that, but that was still one start. Still overall for the season, he's been terrible. 5.30 ERA in one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in America, and a FIP still in the low fives, and xFIP still almost touching 5. Still don't have any faith in him. I know his last start was pretty good, and again, that's why he's a 122 instead of a 26 or something. But the Mariners will have an edge here at starting pitching. They'll have an edge on offense as well. I can't believe I'm saying this. The A's are going to have the edge in the bullpen. That's so weird because the A's bullpen was so dreadful last year. The Mariners bullpen's been so good for so long. The Mariners bullpen still grades at its average. Again, if they can get Brash back, that probably puts them back into the top 10. But this A's bullpen, we've been talking about it all season. Every day it seems like they continue to do well. And the model's just saying every day, okay, you're a little bit better. Okay, you're a little bit better. Okay, we're going to adjust. Keep adjusting. And all of a sudden, this A's bullpen looks like a strength. No line yet. But we do have the Mariners winning this 62% of the time. So you can see the projected price for that, the B grade threshold, and the total projection on screen. That's all we've got. Again, no show for Sunday games, but all those picks and more first 5 picks, thresholds for what you need for run lines, first fives, all sorts of great information summarized concisely, neatly, longer details when you want them, shorter details when you don't. A bunch of great information over on Dub Club. Check it out. If you're not there yet, that link in the show description gets you a 10-day free trial to start us out. Thanks for watching. Good luck this weekend. And as always, please remember that you can eat your betting money, but please do not bet your eating money.